Good, happy Saturday evening, June 5th, 2021. I'm Riley King, and welcome to the Saturday evening edition of the Riley King Newscast, right here on the Riley King Network. We have a lot of news to get to this Saturday evening, so let's begin. But first up, we begin with a check of your weather. Today was hot. If it was hot for you today, well, it will be even more hotter ahead. With more on that, let's go to meteorologist Eric Weglar with a full weather forecast right now.
I think what sets us apart is the fact that our technicians live and breathe only chimneys. It's not a part of our company, it is our company. We do everything from sweeping the chimney, maintaining the chimney, repairing the chimney, rebuilding the chimney. Our inspections are top to bottom, inside and out. We make sure that the entire chimney as a whole has been inspected and can function as a system rather than just a fireplace. The biggest value that customers get from having us.
Thanks for clicking on to WMUR.com. I'm meteorologist Eric Weglar. We've had a few showers, downpours, and even thunderstorms across part of the state this afternoon. Manchester, for example, saw one go through. The temperatures go from the 80s, rather the 90s, down to the 80s. So the power of rain, and you can see the ominous clouds too in Dublin as some storms move to the southeast there. The real change, though, behind the thunderstorm action is across the central part of the state, where the dew points have skyrocketed into the 60s and lower 70s. So very soupy feel outside right now, and that will continue over the next couple of days. First cluster moving south now into, say, Merrimack, Nashua, through New Boston, Amherst, towards the seacoast as well. But the main action we're watching, and this will be the focal point for any severe weather tonight, is this cluster upstream in parts of Montreal. Not moving all that fast, at least at this moment, but it'll gain steam and begin to march into parts of Vermont and northern New Hampshire as we go through the evening hours tonight. Behind this, even hotter air builds in before a bit of a cool down for the second half of next week. So this is Futurecast this evening. That cluster up in Montreal will begin to make its approach between, say, 7 and 9 o'clock tonight. And once that moves through, I think the severe threat begins to wind down pretty fast. So it's a couple hours tonight of severe storms north, and that's it. We'll see some additional downpours and storms behind that line. And by tomorrow morning, while a lot of sunshine emerges, we'll see a lot of sun as we go into the afternoon. And there's a potential for a few more scattered showers and downpours, mainly north of Conway and Plymouth up in the mountains as we go through tomorrow night. One more day of that, at least for the interim here, before things clear out. So in terms of severe impacts, I think damaging wind is the primary concern here. A potential for a brief burst or two of larger hail, but I think that's more minimized at this point. For tonight, we're down into the 60s north, upper 60s and lower 70s south, especially where that soup locks in, the dew points in the 70s. We'll watch that closely tonight. And for tomorrow, add a few more degrees on from whatever you saw today. Lower 90s from Conway and Plymouth points south to the Mass border, warmest in Manchester and Nashua in the middle 90s there. The lake tomorrow in excellent shape. Winds are very light from the west. The waves are barely minimal, if that. Water temps, though, still very cold in the 60s. Keep that in mind. And we'll do 3 more days of 90-degree weather. So this is a heat wave, this chunk here, and in a few spots, this will be a 4-day stretch of heat with temperatures at or above 90. So some impressive stuff here for this time of year. It feels like temperatures on Tuesday will be nasty, too, near 100 for several spots. So very sticky, very uncomfortable. Good news, though, cold front comes through for the end of next week and drops the temperatures into the upper 70s. With that as well, we're expecting, well, even more rain for the end of next week.
Okay, and there you go on that weather forecast from meteorologist Eric Weglar. Bedford High graduates told to share their goodness with the world. At a time when darkness surrounded the world, the class of 2021 stepped up and shined, including the 383 graduates of Bedford High School. TikTok videos lead to suspensions for 2 Bedford police officers. 2 Bedford police officers have been suspended and will be required to complete diversity training after posting TikTok videos while on duty. NHPR pulling plug on the exchange at the end of June. The exchange, an award-winning live call-in show on New Hampshire Public Radio, will end its 25-year run at the end of this month, the station CEO told employees on Friday. 2 dead in Auburn ATV crash. Auburn police said 2 people died Saturday morning when an all-terrain vehicle crashed. The heat is on and masks are off in select schools. With just days left in the school year, some school districts are lifting their mask mandates or adjusting them as hot weather approaches. Two police officers shot in Braintree ambush expected to recover, chief says. Let's take a listen to that video from WCVB Boston.
You must be Steven's phone.
Know who's on your network and control who shouldn't be with Xfinity XFi. Simple, easy, awesome.
Well, the good news is that both officers are expected to make a full recovery. Their chief said today that the other could go home from the hospital as soon as next week. For the first, today was the big day.
With applause from his fellow officers, his wife at his side, and slings and bandages on his arms, Officer Matthew Donahue left Boston Medical Center one day after being wounded in a shootout.
He's in very good spirits. He's very thankful. Is an excellent outcome and expecting a full recovery.
Donahue and fellow officer Billy Cushing, along with a canine unit named Kit, pursued a man into these woods after receiving a 911 call from a woman about a domestic incident in this building at the Braintree Village Apartments.
She has 2 firearms on him. One is a revolver.
Bang, 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 real quick.
Neighbors heard gunshots coming from the woods, then saw the wounded officers carried out, along with Kit and the man who died.
They were really doing CPR. Like, they were trying to get him back. But you could tell, like, he was already gone.
Neighbors say they had occasionally seen 34-year-old Andrew Homan before at the apartment complex. Homan's last known address was on this street in Brockton, where a neighbor says he lived for years with his father.
I saw him a few times out in the street, and he just looked very troubled, just acting wild, fidgety.
Late today, we received a statement from Homan's girlfriend. She says, in part, quote, "What started as a very private situation turned into tragedy." She goes on to say the actions of Andrew were not like anything I had ever witnessed from him. As is standard, the district attorney will be investigating if this shooting was justified, and a memorial ceremony is being planned for the canine unit, Kit. Live at Boston Medical Center, David Beanick, WCVB News Center.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Worcester police officer who died trying to save drowning victim honored and mourned. Let's take a listen to that video from WCVB Boston.
You must be Steven's phone.
Know who's on your network and control who shouldn't be with Xfinity XFi. Simple, easy, awesome.
That family member remembering him as a hero as the community comes out to pay tribute by leaving flowers here on that fallen officer's cruiser.
He was a funny guy, but a serious guy when it came to school, when it came to his kids and school and stuff like that.
For Officer Manny Familia, family was everything. His wife Jennifer, 17-year-old daughter Jayla, and 13-year-old son Javon, now without a husband and father.
He's gonna make his dad proud too, because it was always him and his dad. Baseball, that's what they loved together.
Nazir Jones says his uncle Manny was a father figure to him. The 38-year-old Worcester policeman died yesterday in the line of duty trying to save a 14-year-old boy in distress in Green Hill Pond. Neither of the two made it out alive. Today, Officer Familia's body was taken by procession to the medical examiner's office as other first responders and total strangers pay their respects to the man who paid the ultimate sacrifice.
They put their lives on the line every single day, and it's very important that they're recognized for what they do. And this individual here, you know, he gave his life to try to save a life.
The way he died, I believe he's in heaven.
The station and his cruiser draped with bunting. The governor ordering flags at half staff.
Somebody who jumps into the water attempting to save somebody else, a young boy, that's about as high a calling as you could possibly imagine, and a tragic consequence.
And for his family, both in blood and in blue, one thing remains clear.
Oh, he was a hero.
Right now, there's no word on funeral arrangements for that fallen officer. We're live in Worcester this evening. I'm Peter Iliopoulos, WCVB, News Center 5.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. How climate change is impacting Maine farmers and the crops they grow. Let's take a listen to that video from WMTW News 8 Maine.
Wasn't feeling well, so I headed for the ER. And as soon as I walked in, I coded.
I thought we'd lost him. Luckily, when they put him on the ECMO, they were able to get him to the cath lab and unblock his heart.
ECMO is a portable pump that replaces the function of the heart or lungs. These patients, if it were not for the ECMO program, have very low probability of survival.
It's amazing. It's just
incredible.
Brought to you by Maine Health.
For Goranson Farm in Dresden, spring started early.
It's been a pretty exciting year. We've never picked strawberries in May before.
Which in some ways is great. Customers can buy berries earlier in the season.
We think because of the milder winter and really warm temperatures in the earlier part of the spring initiated early growth.
The early harvest is evidence of the unpredictability farmers are facing that's been amplified by climate change.
A lot of farmers will say, you know, yeah, weather's always changing and we're used to it. And that's true. But the degree of uncertainty and extremes is just an added challenge.
Ivan Fernandez is a professor of science at the University of Maine. He's also part of the state's Climate Council. He says warmer temperatures and earlier harvests are just one aspect. There's also drought and pests arriving earlier in the year.
It also brings with it other challenges having to do with the kinds of crops and the sort of the genetics of our crops are geared towards the climate of the 20th century, and now we're living in the 21st century.
For Goranson Farm, they had to irrigate crops earlier than ever this year.
Really was pretty unprecedented. We went into the winter with a drought, we're coming out with a drought, we're in a drought.
Which makes reaping the rewards of their hard work, from potatoes to carrots to strawberries, even sweeter. In Bath, Alice Keefe, WMTW News.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. Trump Organization's controller testifies before special grand jury. Let's take a listen to that video from ABC News.
Get to Kohl's this weekend for sizzling savings. Like shorts starting at $19.99, up to 65% off bedding, and sandals starting at $14.99. Bonus, get it all in 1 hour or less with free store pickup and get back to fun in the sun faster. Kohl's.
Former President Trump returning to the political stage, preparing to deliver one of his first major public speeches since he left office.
The appearance coming on the heels of two big headlines. ABC News has learned one of the Trump Organization's most senior officials has testified before a special grand jury.
And Facebook announcing the former president's ban will last for at least 2 years. That ban put in place after the January 6th Capitol riot. The Justice Department saying about 465 defendants have been arrested in connection with the riot. The FBI is still trying to identify 250 more people believed to have been involved. ABC's Alex Brochet is at the White House with the very latest. Alex, good morning.
Whit, good morning to you. And so all of that is happening as former President Trump is scheduled to speak to a group of Trump Republicans today. It's the first time he's spoken since February. And look, we know that both this ban and these criminal investigations are going to be on his mind.
Do you miss me yet? Do you miss me?
For the first time since February, former President Trump's returning to the spotlight tonight, speaking to Republicans in North Carolina. His first speech in months, and his first of the crucial 2022 midterm season. But while he's speaking today, another of Trump's biggest megaphones has been silenced. Facebook announcing Trump's ban from the platform will last at least until January of 2023. The social media giant made the announcement Friday, insisting his words were kindling to the chaos on January 6th. The company pointed to videos like this, posted on Facebook to supporters while they were attacking the Capitol.
We love you. You're very special.
And another post where Trump called the insurrectionists great patriots and to remember this day forever. Facebook writing these severe violations were worthy of the highest penalty available under the new enforcement protocols. Trump's blasted the decision, calling it an insult. He's already been banned indefinitely from Twitter and Snapchat. He's suspended for now on YouTube. But Trump's troubles haven't ended there. ABC News learning the criminal investigations into the former president are revving up. Sources tell ABC News the Trump Organization controller Jeff McConney recently testified behind closed doors to a special grand jury. That body, impaneled by the Manhattan District Attorney, will decide whether to bring criminal charges against Trump, his company, or any employees.
I have legally used the tax laws to my benefit and to the benefit of my company, my investors, and my employees.
One key focus is whether Trump allegedly inflated the values of assets when beneficial and deflated them for tax breaks. The former president's previously called this investigation a continuation of the greatest witch hunt in American history. Now, sources tell ABC that McConney is the first employee of the former president's company to be called to testify, which could be a sign that prosecutors are burrowing deep within the company's finances. Whit?
Now, Alex, I want to go back to that Facebook ban. The former president will be blocked from the social media site for at least 2 years until January 2023. But then what happens after that?
Well, so Trump's account won't be immediately reinstated after that 2-year period. Instead, Facebook says that it will look to experts to assess to see whether the risk to public has receded. Eva?
Alex Crochet for us there. Thank you so much.
Well, hey there, GMA fans.
Okay, and there you go on that video and that report. And that does it for this evening edition of the Riley King Newscast right here on the Riley King Network. I hope you all have a good evening, and I'll see you back here tomorrow for another newscast. Good night and goodbye, everyone.